Hello everybody. Hope you all are doing really well. Please confirm me on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly so that we can quickly start with the session. So I guess everybody who wanted to join has joined. So yes, please confirm me on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly so that we can quickly start with the session. Yes. Hello everybody. Hope you all are doing really. Okay, I can see that I'm audible and visible clearly. Just in case if you have any queries, please feel free to post it on the chat box. I would be happy to answer it. Okay. So, hello future auditors. Hope you all are doing really well. Today, I welcome you all to this orientation session for AA paper, which is Audit and Assurance. And in today's session, we are going to cover everything about audit. That is, we are also going to cover how do we study for audit. We are also going to cover that what all are the syllabus points of audit, what all things you need to prepare, what I would be providing you from my end, and what you need to do to score good marks, that is at least 70 plus marks in your audit and assurance paper. Okay, so we are going to cover everything, so you just need to watch this video till the end, and I assure you that you will like the content, and then you should subscribe to this channel so that whatever content I bring to you after this for AA, you should be able to understand it, you should be able to relate to it. Okay, and you should be updated about it. Now my friends, let's discuss about this. When I talk about this particular paper, which is audit and assurance, when I talk about this particular paper, which is audit and assurance, it stands as F8, right? Now, what are the objectives of it? What are the objectives of it? See my friends, it is very important for all of us to understand the objectives of a particular paper before appearing for it. In fact, before starting preparation for it. Because once we are sure on the objective part, then whenever we study any chapter, we should always relate it to the relevant objectives, that whether we have covered those objectives or not, right? So, knowledge and understanding of the process of carrying out the assurance engagement and its application in the context of the professional regulatory framework. That is, you should have knowledge and understanding. What this basically means, knowledge, understanding and application, that is, you might not be required to evaluate a lot of factors. Okay, you should just be knowledgeable about it, you should just understand it, and then you should be able to apply it directly to a case scenario. That is what is required in your AA paper. What about synthesis and evaluation? That is level 3, and that is required in your AAA paper, not in your AA paper. Okay, then develop understanding of basics of audit. When I say basics of audit, what are the basics of audit? So risk, internal control, understanding the entity, all of these things, completion, review, reporting, all of these things are basics of audit, and we should be able to understand it. Is it covered in your AA syllabus? Yes, everything is covered in your AA syllabus. Okay, now aims to strike a balance between technical knowledge as well as practical application of this knowledge. That is, you should not just have the technical knowledge of the standards, but you should always be able to apply it to the given scenario as well. That is also very important here. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now my friends, a lot of you ask me this question, is AA a very difficult paper? Should we try to skip it? Should we try to claim exemption for it? So my dear friends, I would tell you honestly. Okay, what happens is, whenever we discuss about any of the subject, we should understand that what is its real application in the real world, right? So audit and assurance is that one subject where you will find that in the real world also everything is followed by the book. That is, whatever we are going to study over here, you will be able to apply it, and therefore when you go to the ACCA careers option, most of the jobs that you will find is either in the accounting domain, which is FR and SBR domain, or in the audit domain, which is a AA and AAA domain. Okay, so that is why it is very important. Having said that, I understand that all other subjects are also important, but when I talk about AA, so this is generally followed by the book without any assumption, without anything. Okay, so that makes this subject very important. Now exam format. When I talk about the exam format, what is important here? So this is a 3-hour exam. Okay, divided into 2 sections. So section C is not there, no, section C is not there, not an issue. Okay, all questions are compulsory, that is, there would not be any choice. Section A and section B. Okay, section A is for MCQs. Section A is for what? Section A is for MCQs. Okay, section A is for MCQs. Okay, 3 objective test with 5 objective type question worth 2 marks each, that is 10 marks per case, and there would be total 3 cases, so total 30 marks would be there. Okay, I hope this is clear. Then section B. Section B is 3 scenarios with 2 or more requirements totaling 70 marks. That is, what would be the total number of questions, that is not made clear, but there would be 3 scenarios and there could be 2 requirements in each scenario, there could be 3 requirements, there could be 2 requirements in one scenario, there could be 3 requirements in another scenario, that could be the case. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now I'll just give you 1 minute. Please try to interpret this particular diagram. What is this? Please try to interpret it. Please try to interpret it. What is this? What is this? Please tell me. What is this? Yes, any idea on what is this diagram? So this diagram shows you that when you should appear for AA paper, okay, and how it is related to different subjects. So first of all, when I talk about AA, it is related to 4 subjects. Okay, number 1 is financial accounting. Why financial accounting? So see, what happens is when you answer for AA as our subject, what happens is that you might have to draw certain references to the relevant accounting standards, to the relevant accounting principles as well, and therefore FA is related to your AA. That is, your FA knowledge of knowledge level helps you in skill level AA. Okay, then financial reporting, this is a skill level paper. So financial reporting, knowledge of financial reporting, that is IFRS standards and all, is also required when you answer AA questions. Okay, and therefore what we have done is we are going to offer you complimentary IFRS brush up lectures. That is, even if you are not sure about IFRS requirements, even if you have studied it but you forgot it, maybe you just need to revise it, we are going to offer you complimentary, that is along with the AA lectures, we are also going to offer you IFRS brush up lectures as well. Okay, then strategic business reporting and advanced audit and assurance. How AA is related to these 2 subjects? So see, what happens is AA forms the basis for SBR and AAA paper. Why do I say that? See, what happens is when you study for AA as a paper, you understand the auditing requirements. Now when you have to answer for SBR or AAA, so AAA is directly the advanced level of AA. Okay, but when I talk about SBR subject, there you will need to gain professional skills marks, and to gain that professional skills marks, you need to answer from the point of view of the auditor also. Sometimes you have to identify from the point of view of the management also. So that is why AA plays a major important role here. Now, what is the core difference between AA and AAA? Can anybody tell me what is the core difference between AA and AAA? Can anybody tell me? See, what happens is whenever we talk about AA and AAA, what happens is that this AAA has certain topics which are not made part of AA. That is, say, opening balances, okay, audit of opening balances, say prospective financial information, say due diligence, okay, review engagements. All of these things are there which are not made direct part of the AA syllabus, and therefore this AAA syllabus is very different. One such very important topic is money laundering. Money laundering is some topic which is not at all covered as part of AA syllabus, but is a very important part of the AAA syllabus, and it is very important for us to understand it as a professional accountant also, right? Now let's talk about overview of AA. Let's talk about overview of AA. So regulatory framework including ethical requirements of corporate governance, that is done. That is, what you have to understand is whether you are fulfilling the ethical requirements and whether you can accept the audit engagement. Okay, then understand the entity and its environment. Once you have accepted the audit engagement, what do you need to do? You need to understand the entity and its environment. This is covered in ISA 300 series if somebody has some knowledge of the auditing standards. Okay, then assess the risk of material misstatement. Assess the risk of material misstatement. This is again covered in ISA 300 series. We are going to understand it. Effective controls expected. If yes, then test controls. Okay, if satisfactory, then you can reduce your substantive procedure. What is this? So this is basically testing of controls, that is whatever are the internal controls. For example, in this video we are allowing everybody to attend this particular orientation session, but when you enroll for a classes, do you think everybody would be allowed to attend those sessions? No. Why? Because there's a process that needs to be followed. When I talk about that process, so that is an internal control to ensure that only the authorized students are able to access our regular lectures, right? So test of controls would be there, and after that auditor will decide if controls are working effectively, then maybe the audit procedures might be reduced a little bit based on the professional judgment of the auditor. What if unsatisfactory test of controls is there, or control effectiveness is not expected, that is auditor does not expect that control would be working effectively. So communicate deficiencies to whom? To those charged with governance, and then you have to perform all the substantive, that is all the normal procedures. Finally, after all this, you have to review the procedures, and then you have to frame your auditor's report, and if required, report to management also. Now, this might be something that might be very, very new to you. All of these terms might be very, very new to you, but my dear friends, I assure you that once you complete the study of AA, you will understand everything to the core, and we will be covering through some real reports also. Okay, so wherever real data could be fetched, I would be fetching it for you, and I would be sharing it with you, and you would love this subject, I am telling you. Okay, but before moving further, I would like to ask you one thing. A lot of people say that audit is a very theoretical subject. What do you think about it? What do you think about it? If anybody is there in the live session, do let me know on the chat box. What do you think about it? Is audit a very theoretical subject? What do you think? Is audit a theoretical subject? What do you think? Is audit a theoretical subject? Yes. So, my dear friends, I would like to tell you here that yes, audit is a theoretical subject, but what I'll tell you is that even if people believe that audit is a theoretical subject, I would tell you that audit is the most practical subject. Why do I say that? See, what happens is whenever we study anything in audit, that is followed by the book, like we discussed, right? That is followed by the book, and this is something that makes this subject very, very practical. That is, once you understand the requirements, once you understand the auditor's responses, how auditor is supposed to respond in a particular scenario, you cannot change it. You have to follow everything by the book. If it is written that you have to communicate to management, then you will have to communicate to management. There is no choice that is given generally. Okay, and that makes this subject very, very practical, and therefore I say that audit is the most practical subject written in the most theoretical manner, and that should be your mindset whenever you study for this particular subject, which is what audit is the most practical subject written in the most theoretical manner. I hope this is clear. Now, syllabus. Let's talk about the syllabus part. Okay, let's talk about the syllabus part here. So when I talk about the syllabus part, number one is audit framework and regulation. Audit framework and regulation. When I say audit framework and regulation, what is covered under it? So the concept of audit and other assurance engagement. When I said the concept of audit and other assurance engagement, it means that what is audit, what are assurance engagements, how do we need to deal with different types of engagement, what are the auditor's responsibilities, what is the level of assurance that is given, all of that. Then external audits. So here we will be discussing about what are independent audits, what are external audits. Then we are going to discuss about corporate governance. Here we will be discussing about the definition of corporate governance, how an entity is directed and controlled. We are going to discuss about certain board member committees that could be there in a particular company. Then we are going to discuss about the professional ethics. When I talk about the professional ethics here, why ethics are important? See, what happens is, as an auditor, you will face a lot of ethical dilemmas in your daily life. Okay, what might happen is that there might be certain assignments on which you have to do some unauthorized irregular work or some illegal work also, and you will generate a lot of money. Now, should you accept that assignment? There is an assignment which is of your friend. Can you issue the opinion which is an independent opinion on this particular engagement? You will have to evaluate, and all of that is evaluated through this ethics and code of ethics. Okay, now the second part is planning and risk assessment. I generally call it the most important part of your auditing subject. Why do I say that? Why do I say that? See, what happens is, whenever you do any audit, whenever you perform any audit, the most important part there is the planning stage. That is, if you have planned your audit appropriately, then the resultant results would also be appropriate. But if you have done some irregular work, if you have done improper planning, then definitely you might not be able to achieve your audit objectives. That is why planning is the most important stage. So what is covered under planning? Obtaining, accepting and continuing the audit engagements, objectives and general principles, assessing audit risk, understanding the entity and its environment and the applicable financial reporting framework, fraud, laws and regulations. Sir, are we going to cover fraud as well? Yes. Are we going to cover how do we commit this fraud? No, definitely not. But we are going to discuss about the auditor's responsibilities in relation to fraud. Okay. Then audit planning and documentation. Now, internal control. When I talk about internal control, so systems of internal control is there. Systems of internal control, where we talk about how the internal control should be there. For example, if I talked about my internal control, that not all of you could attend the regular lectures unless you follow a due process. So when I talk about this particular process, what is the control, internal control system, that is what is the control environment in my institution, what is the risk assessment, what kind of risk I consider important, how do we communicate the deficiencies as well as the internal control framework. That is very, very important, and that is covered under systems of internal control. Then the use and evaluations of systems of internal control by auditors. The use and evaluation of systems of internal control by auditors, that is how auditors needs to evaluate this particular system and what are the auditor's responsibilities. Then test of controls, how auditor performs the test of control, and what do we mean by test of controls? That control that I just told you about, how do auditor test it, what could be the interpretations of it, what could be the conclusions of it, and how does it affect the overall audit opinion of the auditor. Okay, then communication on internal controls. Communication on internal controls. When I say communication on internal controls, what do I mean by communication on internal controls? What do I mean by it? So see, what happens is, whenever there is any testing of internal control that happens, there could be results, like there could be effective internal controls, there could be ineffective internal controls. How do you need to communicate it? Do you need to communicate it to management or those charged with governance? Now sir, what are these those charged with governance? So although we will cover in detail during our regular lectures, but I'll just tell you that generally we consider management as the highest person, right? Highest authority person is the management, but that is not true. The highest authority person who are given the responsibility of strategic direction of the company, those are those charged with governance. Those charged with governance. When I say those charged with governance, that is these people are given the responsibility, are charged with the responsibility to govern the company. Okay, so these are generally the promoters or the highest authority people of the company. Then internal audit and governance and the differences between external audit and internal audit. Is that important? Yes, this is very, very important. The difference between external audit and internal audit. It is not like external audit is done by external people, internal audit is done by internal people. It is not that simple. There are many other differences that are there in external audit as well as in internal audit. Okay, now the scope of internal audit function, outsourcing and internal audit assignment. The scope of internal audit function, outsourcing and internal audit assignment. What is this? So internal audit function, what it could cover, how it could help the external audit, that is covered in the scope of internal audit function. Then outsourcing as in sometimes what happens is internal audit is not done in-house, it is outsourced to an external firm. Sir, but that will become external audit. No, my dear friends, it will not become external audit. Okay, so sometimes internal audit could be outsourced to the outside firm also, and that is called as the outsourcing function. Now audit evidence. This is majorly governed by ISA 500 series. Okay, when I say 500 series, so there are standards that are there: ISA 501, ISA 505, 510, 520, 530, 540, 550, all of these. Okay, now when I talk about this, so here we need to understand one thing, that we need to obtain the evidences, then we need to conclude on it, and therefore we will be forming our audit opinion. So assertions and audit evidences. Okay, audit procedure, what all types of audit procedure could be there? Say inspection could be there, confirmation could be there, analytical procedure could be there, inquiry could be there, observation could be there, recalculation could be there, reperformance could be there. Then audit sampling and other means of testing. Audit sampling, other means of testing. Okay, that how do you need to draw the samples? You might have understood this earlier as well, or you might have listened to it somewhere, that audit is not done for 100% of the items. Audit is done, checking is done for less than 100% of the items. That is called as audit sampling. And in case of audit, there is set procedures which governs that how these procedures, how the sampling would be done, and how the conclusion would be made on that. Now the audit of specific items. Here when I talk about the audit of specific items, we are going to cover certain items and we are going to perform our audit procedures on that. It could be any item of the financial statements. Then automated tools and techniques. Now you might understand that because of AI, because of data analytics, there is increased use of automated techniques in all of the industries. Audit is not an exclusion. In case of audit also, there are a lot of automated tools. Like you might have seen the use of Excel, you might have seen the use of analyzers, you might have seen the use of Power BI. Everything is covered under automated tools and techniques. Then the work of others. When I talk about the work of others, this includes the work of management experts, auditors experts, and internal auditors. Okay, now not for profit organization. This is something that is very particular to AA syllabus. This is not covered as part of your AAA syllabus. Not for profit organizations. So this is particularly important that whenever you audit any non-for-profit organization, these are not for profit, that is they do not generate any profits. So the criteria of auditing this is very different. Generally we think that management will try to promote those transactions, will try to show those transactions which makes profit for them, which makes their books profitable, but here there is no profit, so the entire trajectory changes and we have to look at it from the different point of view, that is we have to look at it from the point of view of non-financial metrics also, and that makes this chapter very important. Now review and reporting. Now review and reporting, when I talk about review and reporting, so subsequent events are there. This is something that you might have discussed in FR and SBR also, but let me tell you that this is not similar to what you study in FR and SBR. This is quite different. Okay, then going concern, when I talk about going concern, this is again not similar to what you have discussed in your FR and SBR syllabus, but this might be a little different also. We'll look at it from the point of view of auditing. Then written representations, this is the management representation letter that we receive from the management. Then audit finalization and the final review, this is when we try to review the financial statement, we try to finalize everything. Then the independent auditor's report, that is how do we need to issue the report, what could be certain paragraphs inside it, everything we will be covering here. And finally employability and technology skills would be there. When I talk about employability and technology skills, what do I mean by it? Employability and technology skills, what do I mean by it? It means that we are going to use the computer assisted techniques over here. Okay, so this is something that we will be covering in the regular classes. Now what are the capabilities that should be developed as part of your AA preparation? What could be the main capabilities that should be developed? So explain the concept of audit and assurance, that is very important. Okay, functions of audit, corporate governance, ethics and professional conduct, this is something that we have already discussed as part of our syllabus, so I'll just highlight the keywords over here. Then how auditor obtains and accepts audit engagement, that is ethical point of views also. How do they understand the entity, how do they assess the risk of material misstatement, and how do they plan on audit of financial statements. Okay, then how do they evaluate internal controls, test techniques and audit test, IT systems, that is the control environment. Then appropriate recommendations also. Okay, then internal audit. Then identify and describe the work and evidence obtained by the auditor, that is 500 series that we discussed about, 500 series. Okay, and explain how consideration of subsequent events, going concern. Okay, different types of auditors report, written representations, and final review and report. Then demonstrate employability and technology skills. All of this was covered as part of what? As part of our discussion of syllabus. Okay, now technical articles. Are technical articles important, sir? Yes, technical articles are very important for examination. You just need to give a read to it. Okay, once you read it, you will find certain points that might help you to answer it. Okay, because see, your paper is 30% objective, 70% descriptive. So what happens is that here you will have to understand one thing, that these technical articles are not directly being asked in the examination, but what this will help you in, this will help you in framing your answers for the descriptive answers. Okay, and sometimes might help you in the MCQs also. So I have mentioned all the technical articles that are important over here. Okay, I'll share this file on Telegram. If you want to connect with me on Telegram, you can connect through the link that is given in the description box of this particular video. Okay, that is important. See, the audit of wages, this is not covered as part of your auditing of specific items, but this might be asked in the examination, so this technical article will help you. The audit of assertions, the auditor's report, going concern, subsequent events, analytical procedure, using the work of internal auditors. So this is all very important. You should just give it a read. Now certain FAQs are very important to be answered, so I'll just answer these. Okay, do we need to quote ISA numbers in your examination? No, only knowledge and application of ISAs are required. You do not need to mug it up, you do not need to mention it mandatorily. If you remember it, you can mention it, but you do not need to mention it. Can we use bullet points in answer? Yes, but complete sentences unless requirement is to list, that is unless it is asked that you will list, you need to list the particular items, then you need to write in full sentences. You can use the bullet points, yes, but you need to write in full sentences. Could a 20-mark question be set on audit report? Not likely generally. 20 marks question directly cannot be set on auditor's report, maybe 10 to 15 marks, and then it will be taken care by one more question. Now, could candidates be asked about business risk? Yes, they can be asked, but not directly as part of the AA syllabus. But what they could be asked is that how does it affect the business risk? Okay, they might not be asked to list the business risk, but they might be asked to identify and understand how it will affect the business of the company. Is monetary unit sampling examinable? Yes, monetary unit sampling is also examinable. What is monetary unit sampling? Where the higher value items have higher chances of getting selected. Could candidate be expected to pick a sample? No, generally no. There will not be big data and you will be asked to pick the samples. No, it will not happen. Is error projection examinable? Yes. Error projection, as in if you have identified certain errors in the sample, how does it affect the entire population and financial statements? That is examinable. Yes. Okay. Now let's talk about the batch details. Okay, a lot of you were asking me after your paper ended for December 2025 that what are your batch details for March 2026. So let me tell you all of the details of my March 2026 batch. Okay, so I have divided my batch into two parts. One is concept lectures, another one is question practice sessions. When I talk about the concept lectures, the lectures are going to be in the recorded mode so that you can watch it at your own pace, at your own comfort. There's no requirement of attending the live sessions here. Okay, it is going to be in English, and as a complimentary I have also included IFRS brush up lectures so that you can revise the IFRS requirements also and you will be able to frame better answers in your examination. Now question practice sessions, they are live. So why have you kept these things live? You could have kept the question practice also recorded, it would have been more comfortable. No, my dear friends, see what happens is in case of AA as well as AAA as well as law, question practice is a very important thing. Okay, so I'm not saying that I'll not give you the recorded backup, I'll give you the recorded backup also, but I'll at least make sure to solve these questions along with you in the live class also, so that if anybody of you wants to attend the live session of question solving, they would be able to do it. What would be the language? English language. Days would be Monday and Wednesday. Time is 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Generally we will be solving 2 to 3 questions every lecture. Okay, we will be solving both MCQs and descriptive type questions. But sir, what is going to be the source? So my dear friends, I am going to provide you my summary book also, handwritten summary notes also, as well as question bank also. We are going to solve that also. Major questions have been taken from Study Hub, and then some questions are taken from BPP and Kaplan also, the selected ones. Okay, we will be solving those. Then query and doubt support. What is the query and doubt support? So you can ask your queries during the live sessions, and if you want to ask later, then you can ask during on the app also. I would be happy to answer all of your queries on the app also. Now mock test. What is going to be the mock test? So 4 unit test on every alternate Saturday. Okay, 4 unit tests would be there every alternate Saturday with evaluation. Evaluation would be done by me, and 2 full syllabus tests would be there at the end with evaluation at the end, as in the mid of February. Now what will you get from my end? You will get hard copy of AA handwritten summary notes. You will get hard copy of AA question banks. It will include MCQs as well as descriptive questions. Then class board notes for ease of reference later. For this you will get the soft copy. Okay, so these hard copies are going to be delivered to your home and you can study very well from it. Okay, is it going to be in similar format like I've written this? Yes, somewhat yes, and the question bank is going to be in the typed format. Now duration. So batch is starting from 14th of December today. Okay, end date is mid of February 2026. By then we will be covering everything. Okay, along with all the revisions, everything, all the mock test. Duration is going to be approximately 75 hours. Out of that, roughly 35 to 40 hours are recorded and 35 to 40 hours are live sessions. Okay, for question practice. Validity is going to be 3 months. Okay, extension of 3 months could be availed on request. If you request the team, they might give you 3 months extension as well. Now I hope this has made everything clear about AA and AAA as a subject. How do you prepare for it? What is the requirement and what are the batch details? Now if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to answer it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to answer it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to answer it. Yes, please feel free to ask. I would be happy to answer it. Yes, any questions, any discussion points? Any questions, any discussion points? Any questions, any discussion points that you want to ask? Anything, please feel free to ask. Not an issue. I can read your chats over here, so please tell me. Yes. Okay. So I hope this has made everything clear. Now hoping to see you in the batch. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on my Telegram channel, my Instagram page, my YouTube channel. Okay, and all of these links have been mentioned in the description. Also, if you want to enroll for my batch, you can contact me on the number given, and you can also go to our website, which is www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. Okay. So now I would like to wish you all the very best for your March 2026 paper. And there is one saying that I say, which is audit is the most practical subject written in the most theoretical manner, and I hope that you understand it really well and you are able to score very good marks. Okay, so Got it for audit.